Seen a grown woman in a $300 designer pantsuit just absolutely lose her mind. I mean, screaming, banging on a locked iron gate like some wild animal at the zoo while the cops snap cuffs on her wrists. That was Delilah Thornfield, the so-called HOA president, the moment her $500,000 scam went up in smoke. The crazy part. She actually tried to sell my family's private lake, 70 years of my family's sweat and legacy behind my back. Yeah, that happened. And honestly, watching instant karma roll in on that chilly morning while she wailed and smeared mascara all over her face, it was beautiful. So let me back up a sec. I'm Marcus Tank Kowalski, 42 years old, diesel mechanic by trade. Hands forever stained black with grease and damn proud of it. Most mornings before all hell broke loose, my biggest worry was whether the base were biting or if Sarah's coffee would stay warm while I wandered down to the dock. Same house I grew up in, same patch of Pennsylvania looking out at the only place that's ever really felt like home. A crystal clear lake my grandfather Stanislaw dug by hand back in 1954. Picture it, 47 acres of pure water, pine trees shooting up all around, morning mist swirling like old ghosts and loons calling in the distance. The air smells like pine and wet earth, and the docks worn smooth by generations of bare feet. That lake? It's not just land, it's soul. Grandpa Stanislaw came from Poland with nothing but calloused hands and a stubborn streak a mile wide. He bought that swampy patch for $800, dug it out with help from other Polish immigrants chasing the American dream, and made it into something real. For 70 years, it's been where family comes together, where kids learn to swim, where you actually hear yourself think on a Sunday morning. Sarah and I raised 3 kids here, Emma, Jake, and little Sophie. Saturday mornings, pancakes on the dock, teaching the kids to cast a line just like Grandpa taught me. Happiness, plain and simple. Then yeah, you saw this coming. Delilah Thornfield rolled up. 3 years back, she arrives in a white Lexus, blessed bumper stickers and all sunglasses worth more than my work boots, acting like she owns the place. Used to be a real estate agent, now running for HOA president. She won naturally. She's got that politician smile, the kind that never means what it says. She starts carrying a leather-bound HOA handbook like it's the Bible and pops by for surprise property inspections, all fake concern and passive-aggressive notes. Marcus, I'm worried about your rustic aesthetic, she'd coo, giving my work truck the side eye like it might infect the neighborhood. But the lake, that's what she really wanted. She circled it, asked a million questions, water quality, safety barriers, environmental impact, you name it. Next thing I know, she's holding concerned citizens meetings about underutilized community resources. Suddenly, folks who'd lived here for decades were getting lectures on property values and development opportunities. And then out of nowhere, we get a letter, official-looking, stamped up $500 a month in lake maintenance fees for our community water feature. For a lake my family built and maintained since before her HOA was even a glint in some lawyer's eye. I nearly crushed that letter in my fist right there in the driveway. Sarah found me staring at the lake, just burning up inside. They want to charge us for our own lake, I told her. That was it. Delilah had picked a fight with the wrong family. I stormed into the HOA office, slapped down Grandpa's original deed and survey maps, demanded answers. Delilah. She just flashed that ice-cold realtor smile. Oh, sweetie, these old documents are charming, but they don't supersede modern community standards. The lake clearly falls within our current boundary assessments, like that meant anything. Here's what she didn't know: I'd spent 3 years in law school before Grandpa's stroke called me home. I knew she was bluffing. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is play dumb and let people underestimate you. I asked to see these boundary assessments. She claimed some mystery surveyor was finishing up, should be available any day now. Red flag, right? So I set up trail cameras around the lake. You hunt deer long enough, you know how to catch predators of all kinds. 3 days later, jackpot. There's Delilah and some guy in a suit walking my property line, measuring, plotting. Ran his face through a search. Turns out he's Rex Grimshaw, owner of Grimshaw Development, a guy who's made a fortune paving paradise into strip malls. They weren't surveying, they were casing the joint. I saw Grimshaw gesturing like he was already carving up the land, and when I read his lips, I caught $50 million project. My family's sanctuary was just the next line on a spreadsheet. That night, I cracked open my old law books, adverse possession, homestead protections, grandfathered use. If your property's been in use before zoning laws, you're pretty much untouchable. My lake, built in 1954, beat any modern nonsense. But Grimshaw's playbook was dirty cozy up to local officials create legal confusion, force owners into settlements, and sweep up the pieces. Friday, I called the county recorder's office. No recent surveys filed, nothing official. Delilah was making it all up. But that Saturday, I found tire tracks near the boat launch. Expensive rubber, not the kind locals use. Trail cams showed Delilah and Grimshaw back this time with a photographer documenting every inch, measuring, grinning. That's when I knew it wasn't about HOA fees, it was organized theft. The next week, Delilah went nuclear. County health inspector shows up, cease and desist, environmental violation, recreational activities banned. She claimed the lake was a mosquito breeding ground, a contamination hazard. The inspector, Williams, looked miserable. But Delilah hovered all fake concern, pointing at my clean, spring-fed water like it was Chernobyl. But what she didn't count on was me knowing that false environmental complaints are a felony in Pennsylvania. I called the Department of Environmental Protection. Janet Morrison, a bulldog of an investigator, tells me, "We get dozens of bogus complaints a month. Yours smells like harassment." 3 days later, Janet calls back. "Your lake is a natural filtration system. Whoever filed this complaint is either clueless or just doesn't care." Even better, Delilah filed her complaint the same day as her photo op with Grimshaw. And digging deeper, I found out Grimshaw had donated $10,000 to the local commissioner's re-election fund, the same commissioner who sent Williams to my property. The rot ran deep. Then came the smear campaign. Anonymous flyers calling me a liar, accusing me of endangering the community. My kids caught hell at school, neighbors started whispering. One night Sarah suggested maybe we just pay up, keep the peace. But as I stared at that lake, the old dock, decades of laughter and barbecues, I knew surrendering would mean we'd lose everything that mattered. But I wasn't fighting alone. The next morning my cameras caught Delilah meeting privately with Williams, looked real cozy. Time to go on offense. Not long after, there's an emergency zoning hearing at the township building. Delilah tries to get my lake declared a public hazard, armed with a bogus engineering report from a firm owned by Grimshaw. I show up with my own ammo, Dr. Patricia Novak from Penn State, who proves my lake actually prevents flooding. But the real bombshell, Novak found Delilah had already signed a deal to sell my lake to Grimshaw before the first concerned citizens meeting. Turns out Delilah's whole HOA presidency was unconstitutional. She'd never met the residency requirements. Every decision she made was void. I presented all this, plus Mrs. Henderson, bless her, had kept records of every shady meeting for 2 years. The board denied Delilah's request, launched a criminal investigation, and the neighborhood finally saw her for what she was. But Delilah didn't quit. She couldn't. She was drowning in debt, desperate with a suspended real estate license and a divorce settlement about to bury her. Even Grimshaw started to cut her loose. He knew she couldn't deliver. That's when things turned dangerous. Brake lines cut tools, sabotaged my family, threatened. Not just property anymore, this was war. And the stakes were life or death. We set a trap. Eddie and I rigged the gate with a remote lock, cameras hidden in birdhouses, and Rodriguez, my attorney friend, coordinated with law enforcement. We gathered every scrap of evidence, documented every bribe, every false complaint, every threat. When the day came, Delilah and Grimshaw showed up with their crew, thinking they finally had me. They trespassed, hammered survey stakes, even ordered the removal of our family's memorial stones. But the whole time, every word was recorded, every move caught on camera. At exactly noon, Delilah called a judge, caught on tape, offering payment for help with permits. That was it. I locked the gate, hit the PA, and announced a citizen's arrest. Law enforcement was already surrounding the place. Delilah lost it, spinning and screaming, while Grimshaw threw her under the bus, denying everything. The sight of them both in handcuffs, Delilah wailing and Grimshaw pale as a ghost, was pure poetry. The aftermath. Delilah got 18 months in federal prison, restitution payments she'll be making for the rest of her life. Grimshaw 5 years and over $2 million in forfeited assets. The commissioner and judge under federal investigation. The neighborhood came together and the lake is now protected forever. A designated heritage site, a scholarship fund set up in Grandpa's name. My kids are proud of their last name again. Emma's at Penn State studying environmental law. Jake's thinking about becoming a mechanic who knows the law, and Sophie just wants to make sure the loons always have a place to land. So what's the lesson? It's simple. You don't run from a fight when it matters. Peace isn't something you find by running away, it's something you make by standing up, by refusing to let bullies and thieves steal what generations built with blood and grit. And sometimes, just sometimes, the little guy wins. Not because he's smarter or richer, but because he won't back down when it counts. Now let me throw it back to you. Where do you draw the line between standing your ground and cutting your losses? When does fighting for what's right cross the line into something darker? Drop your own HOA horror story or thoughts about justice and revenge in the comments. I read every one. And hey, if this story made you think twice about community improvements, hit subscribe. The loons are calling across Kowalski Lake tonight, and for once everything feels just about right.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.